Good morning, everyone. I'm call this meeting of State Government Finance and Elections Committee to order for March 11th, 2022, and pursuant to House Rule 10.01, this meeting is being held virtually. Mr. Brinks, can you take the roll?
Thank you. Chair Nelson.
Present.
Nelson is present. Vice Chair Carlson. Representative Nash.
Carlson's present.
Carlson is present. Representative Nash.
Present.
Nash is present. Representative Bonner.
Present.
Bonner is present. Representative Drazkowski.
I think Drazkowski is going to be late, so he's excused till he gets here.
Drazkowski is excused. Representative Elkins.
Elkins here.
Elkins is present. Representative Greenman.
Present.
Greenman is present. Representative Cleaborn.
Cleaborn present.
Cleaborn is present. Representative Kosnick.
Present.
Kosnick is present. Representative Mason.
Mason present.
Mason is present. Representative New Brindley.
Present.
New Brindley is present. Representative Pulowski.
Pulowski is excused for the beginning of the meeting.
Pulowski is excused. Representative Quam.
Inexcusably present.
Quam is present. Chair, with that, we have a quorum.
We have a quorum. With that, our first agenda item is approval of the minutes from May 10th. Representative Anderson or Carlson, did you get a chance to look at the minutes?
Yes, Mr. Chair, and I'd like to move the minutes.
Approval of minutes has been moved by Representative Carlson. All in favor, please unmute and say to vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes are approved. We have an aggressive agenda this morning, members, so we'll get right to it. First bill on our agenda is House File 3853, Representative Davnie, and I'll move House File 3853 to be before us, and the intent is to lay this over for possible inclusion. Representative Davnie,
good morning,
you want to explain your bill?
Oh, pardon me. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm excited to be in front of the State Gov Finance Committee today. This may be a first for me. I had to punch this ticket before I leave the body, Mr. Chair. So thank you for the opportunity. Members, as you know, Minnesota currently has 3 state ethnic councils that function as state agencies staffed with the responsibility to advise the executive and legislative branches on concerns of their communities. The Council on Latino Affairs, the Council of Minnesotans of African Descent, and the Council of Asian Pacific Minnesotans. In addition, of course, we have the Minnesota Indian Affairs Council. And members of this committee, I know some at least have served as legislative liaisons on some of these councils. Minnesota currently has in statute language that establishes the Minnesota Youth Council with some of the same important responsibilities to advise the governor and legislature. The Minnesota Youth Council is also empowered by statute, if it chooses, to select bills to be heard before its committee, propose legislation, prepare advisory opinions, and even prepare an omnibus bill. And members, if you haven't presented a bill before the Minnesota Youth Council, you don't know how intimidating that can be, to face a group of engaged, intelligent, knowledgeable young people grilling you on your bill. While the responsibilities of the Minnesota Youth Council are not exactly the same as those of the Ethnic Council, the potential is there, especially if we were to provide the same level of status or support. The Minnesota Youth Council, instead of being a small state agency, as the Ethnic Councils or the American Indian Council is operated by a nonprofit outside of the state and has not received state support until this biennium, when they received one-time funding through the K-12 budget. As one of the letters of support that you'll find in your packet today says, young people are underrepresented in all levels of government and leadership. This bill is an attempt to respond to that underrepresentation and affirm the importance of youth voice, engagement, and insight into the policymaking process. With me today, Mr. Chair, we're lucky to have the policy director of the Minnesota Alliance with Youth and 3 representatives from the Minnesota Youth Council. If I could hand it over to them, I'd appreciate
And I
it.
have a list of testifiers here. Chair Davnie, I'll start with Hala Henderson. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the committee, thank you for taking the time to hear HF 3853 today. My name is Hala Henderson. I am the Policy Director for the Minnesota Alliance with Youth, and I have the privilege of working alongside the Minnesota Youth Council as they navigate informing and influencing bodies such as this about the obstacles that our youth experience. In a few moments, you'll have the opportunity to hear from some of the incredible young people that I work with, and I hope that you provide them with the same level of attentiveness that you've shown me. When the Minnesota Youth Council was signed into law through the leadership of Representative Marquardt, we became the first state to our knowledge to mandate youth voice. And through that work, our young people have spent the last 9 years testifying before committees such as this, partnering with youth organizations and offering guidance to state agencies and decision makers. They've worked alongside MDE, held community forums and events, and in moments of crisis have pivoted to quickly ensure our youth had the most up-to-date knowledge possible. Currently, our structure is made up of 36 young people between 8th and 12th grade. We have 4 students from each congressional district and 4 at-large members. And through this legislation, we would expand our age parameters to include young adults and to reach that really important demographic of young Minnesotans. We're excited about this bill because it allows us to think about our work in sustainable and forward-thinking ways. When we've imagined and thought about the ways in which the council needs to continue to do the great work that it does, it's one where staffing and resources can be devoted solely to that work, and where our young people recognize that the importance of their voice is recognized no matter their zip code or their proximity to the Capitol. Our young people see an urgent need to connect with their peers around civic and community engagement, and we believe this legislation will make that path easier and more transparent, both for the folks at the Capitol who support and fund this work, and then also for our community and our young people as we bring them into these spaces. As you read the letters of support, you'll probably notice a reoccurring theme. Our young people provide needed knowledge and energy around really big issues. They tackle the things that they know their peers care about, and they also tackle the smaller, more nuanced policy decisions with a level of intent and care that is needed in these spaces. This legislation is a further investment in that work. So I would like to turn it over to my young people who can speak to that a little bit in a clearer sense. And thank you again for hearing this legislation and to Representative.
Recording in progress. Recording stopped.
I believe so.
I dropped off for a second there. Is Sage with us?
Yes, I am. Sorry.
Identify yourself for the record then and proceed with your testimony.
Chair Nelson, members of the committee, thanks for the opportunity to share my thoughts. My name is Sage Hartman, and I'm currently a sophomore at Wayzata High School and live in Congressional District 3. This year is my second year on the Minnesota Youth Council, and I'm a part of the Mental Health and Wellbeing Subcommittee. I'm in support of House File 3853 because the youth voice is crucial to implement into legislation. Youth voice is crucial. I'm not only saying this from the perspective of someone who's a part of Minnesota Youth Council, I'm saying this as a student who can recognize the unique and educational perspective that other students have. This bill would help make the perspective that is currently so underrepresented more heard and understood. Personally, as a member of today's youth, I've talked to many of my peers about why they hesitate to share their opinions, and it usually comes back to one common response: lack of opportunities. This bill, if passed, would help make sure that the students and youth have opportunities to not only be seen in legislative process, but to be heard. This bill would also help amplify youth voices from all backgrounds and help implement new perspectives for people who are directly experiencing the effects of legislation. More specifically, when I say that legislation directly impacts us, I mean that the youth is consistently affected when it comes to laws around education, mental health, individual rights, environment, and many more. And because we're so impacted by everything happening around us, it's crucial that us representatives of the youth can use our voice and be heard. This bill will not only help youth be heard, it will help us make change throughout Minnesota as a whole. Thank you for supporting this bill and passing it on.
Thank you for your testimony, Sage. The next person I have is Eric Lee, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Thank you.
Identify yourself and then proceed.
Hello, my name is Eric Lee, and I'd like to thank Chair Nelson and members of the committee for hearing House File 3853. And thank you so much for being here and taking time off your busy schedules. My name is Eric Lee, like I mentioned above, and I'm a junior at Egan High School. Currently, I've been a representative of Congressional District 2 on the Minnesota Youth Council for 2 years now, where I've served on the Juvenile Justice Subcommittee and the Environmental Justice Subcommittee. I'm here today to ask you to push House File 3853, as it's not only necessary for our future success, but it can propel the voices of the youth in Minnesota to a level not seen before that combats against the lack of youth engagement that is seen across Minnesota. Being on the Minnesota Youth Council has already led me to becoming a better advocate. The hearings with legislators actually make me feel that the youth voice matters when it comes to the government. The connections that I've made are astonishing. From working on projects to creating criminal justice reform to working on advocacy in the public health dimension, all of these connections are connections forwarded through the Minnesota Youth Council that can help the community that I represent. Now, you may ask, if we've done so much already, why is this bill necessary? But we think that this can only lead to further net beneficial outcomes at the local and state level. The bill can not only increase the administrative support, which can allow the MYC to receive more services, but also can provide more opportunities and representations. With the government's administrative support, think about the increase in hearings that we can have with legislators and the additional letters of support that we can send out to support more bills with the backing of the youth. With the government's administrative support, think about the connections we can make with more community partners, more events that we can start up, such as the Youth Day at the Capitol and Youth Education Leadership Summit, and more outreach that we can have statewide. For all those reasons, so proud to support this legislation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. The next person I have is Salma Abdi. I hope I said that properly. And welcome to the committee. Say your name for the tape and proceed with your testimony.
Salma Abdi. Thank you, Chair Nelson and members of the committee. You did pronounce my name right. My name is Salma Abdi, and I'm a senior at Century High School in Rochester, Minnesota. This is my final year as a Minnesota Youth Council representative, and the Minnesota Youth Council has made me the advocate I am today. I've been able to work on local issues and national issues by utilizing the skills and education I received as a Minnesota Youth Council representative. I was able to push for my high school to get a constitutional amendment for our student government to allow PSEO students to be a part of it. So why is this bill important? This bill would modernize how our state government seeks out young voices, because as we become increasingly more aware of the world's challenges, having us at the table should no longer be an option, but rather a must. The institutionalization of the Minnesota Youth Council would expand our ability to advise the governor and the state legislature, allowing you all to be connected with young people in your congressional district, giving you a semblance of what we want and need. It'll allow for elected officials to hear directly from non-voting constituents, because while we do not have that civic right just yet, our experiences and opinions matter just as much as the people who elected you. Furthermore, we are not just the future leaders of tomorrow. We are leaders of today, with the unique position to critically understand youth issues and advocate for it. The Minnesota Youth Council is the organization that creates today's leaders, educating us via hands-on experience of how our state legislature works and offering us opportunities like this one to speak in front of you. House File 3853 will allow the Minnesota Youth Council to become a state agency, and pushing for it is to revolutionize not just how Minnesota views young people's voices, but will also allow for other states to follow Minnesota's lead, to reimagine how states can uplift young voices. Thank you for listening on the importance of House File 3853 and pushing to have our voices heard today.
Thank you, Ms. Abdi. Members, any questions of the author? Representative Nash.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to the author. I serve on the Council of Asian Pacific Islander Minnesotans, and just wondering what will the changes be in staffing for this if this were to get passed into law? And I don't see a fiscal note. I was wondering if there has been one requested.
Representative Davnie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Representative Nash. One fiscal note has been requested to go to your last question first, and is still in process. So that's what we know about that. In your packet, I believe there is a letter of support from the Council of Asian Pacific Minnesotans. I hope I'm right about that. One of the ethnic councils, and it may be the Council on Latino Affairs that provided a letter of support. I've met with each of the ethnic councils as well as the Minnesota American Indian Council, pardon me, and all were open to this conversation. And I'm not proposing any changes in their funding as part of this legislation.
Representative Nash.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the staffing, like I work with Ms. Herr, she's got a full complement of staff, all of which are paid. That's not going to change from where you are now, or that would change, and the upcoming fiscal note would reflect that. I'm not sure which.
And are you asking if the staff levels would change, Representative Nash, for the other ethnic councils or for this council?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair, for the clarification. Yes, I'm asking if there is going to be additional staff required to do this, if it's going to be granted the same level of standing as the Asian Pacific councils and the Latino councils and so on. I just wanted to make sure, and I'm sure if that's the case, it'll be reflected in the fiscal note, but just wanted to ask the author.
Representative Davnie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, thanks for asking that clarifying question, because I was misunderstanding Representative Nash's initial question. This would create a state agency parallel to the ethnic councils and the American Indian Council in state statute and in state government. So there will be a fiscal impact. It will not negatively, I'm not proposing negatively impacting any of the existing councils. But as I indicated in my opening comments, Representative Marquardt led the creation of this, the Minnesota Youth Council 10 years ago. They've never received any state funding until this current biennium. This would, they would evaluate what the staffing needs are, and the state would provide for those as we do the other ethnic councils.
Representative Nash.
Nothing further.
Thank you, Representative Nash. Representative Mason.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I have signed on to this bill, and I strongly encourage the support of this. I've worked with youth on numerous occasions, and their expertise and ability to advocate is incredible. And in some cases, and I'll go back to when I was a city council, where I was meeting with a group of teenagers, and we were trying to get a teen center. And the reason my council prohibited people from our parks department to meet with us. We had people from the Y, from the county, every aspect. But my city council would not let our city staff participate in getting a teen center for our teens. And today there still really is no involvement per se by our teens in city government. So I'm thinking this gives us a real opportunity to make sure that at least there is one place where our teenagers or students can really participate. And I can tell you, I mean, I am so very, very impressed in what they know. And I'm thinking also they probably may not have some of the hangups that we have right now, just because we're involved with a number of other things. And especially I see, I know there's one young woman from my district that's on the council, and her particular deal is dealing with the environment. So, I mean, as I said, I can't encourage you to vote yes enough. This is really huge. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Mason. I see no further questions. No further hands up. Representative or Chair Davnie, if you want to wrap up your bill, and then we'll lay this over.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And first, let me thank the testifiers today. I think it was an opportunity for members to hear directly from the youth who are already involved and see the insights that are available, the articulate individuals that are already engaged, then the leadership that is developing there. We all know that younger people are less likely to be engaged in the electoral political process. I think we, as a state, suffer because of that, and opportunities for young people to be more engaged in the policy setting process. Mr. Lee referenced to a net benefit. I think it benefits the youth in their development. It also benefits us in having a more comprehensive and holistic view of the needs and preferences of constituents across the state. This proposal provides a structure where we can access those insights and that leadership to better do our jobs. I ask for your support. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members. I appreciate the opportunity to present the bill this morning.
Thank you, Representative Davnie. The next bill we have on our list of Representative Schultz, but we're working some issues out. So we're going to go to Representative Hansen, House File 3394. And members, I'll move House File 3394 to be referred to the General Register. Representative Hansen, if you want to explain your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. House File 3394 is a bit unique in that it is a House resolution. I think the last one of these that I authored was the Great Lakes Compact resolution back in the late 2000s. So it differs from a law change in terms of that it is a resolution. You're not required on the floor to vote for a resolution. But what this does is it memorializes Congress to name the post office in South St. Paul, Officer Leo Pavlak. Now, those of you who are history buffs may remember in the 1930s, the Barker Carpus Gang. And in the 1930s, during the Depression, bank robberies, people robbed banks because that's where the money was. And the stockyards in South St. Paul were a source of money during the 1930s. Officer Pavlak was killed in an ambush outside of the post office in 1933. And so what this would do, it's my understanding that all members of a congressional delegation need to agree on naming of a post office. And this bill is a resolution to Congress encouraging them to name the post office in memory of Officer Pavlak. We have with us Commander Wiki, who is the current chief of the South St. Paul Police. And in your packet, there is a letter from the Pavlak family supporting this resolution. So, Officer Wiki.
And Representative Hansen, there's no truth that you were there to witness the event. But
No,
anyway, we'll go to
no.
Anyway, we'll go to Commander Wiki. Welcome to the committee, Commander Wiki. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Chair Nelson, members of the committee. My name is Brian Wiki, and I am currently the commander for the South St. Paul Police Department. I'm here today on behalf of the South St. Paul Police Department and the City of South St. Paul, expressing our support for House File 3394 and the resolution supporting the naming of the post office for Officer Leo Pavlak. The resolution as written does a great job, as did Representative Hansen, explaining the facts that led up to Officer Pavlak's brutal murder in 1933. My point here today is I'd like to make sure that the members of this committee are aware of the legacy of service that Officer Pavlak brought to the state of Minnesota. And I'll briefly summarize that. At the time of Officer Pavlak's death, he was survived by two children. His son, Robert, went on to serve in the U.S. Marines. He served his entire career with the St. Paul Police Department. And importantly for this group, he served in the Minnesota House in the late 60s and the early 70s. Towards the tail end of his career, Robert Pavlak was appointed as the U.S. Marshal for the District of Minnesota and served in that capacity for a good portion of the 1980s. Robert Pavlak's children, two of note, Bob and Dave went on to serve in law enforcement as well, continuing that legacy of service. Bob serving with the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office throughout the duration of his career, and David with the St. Paul Police Department. Very self-serving and important to the city of South St. Paul is within the past year, we have brought on Bob's son, Ryan, to the South St. Paul Police Department, coming full circle in that legacy of the Pavlak family and their service to not only the metro area, but the state of Minnesota. With that said, I am here to stand for any questions and offer our wholehearted support in support of House File 3394.
Any questions of the testifier or the author? And Representative Mason, you still have your hand up from the last time?
Yep.
Thank you. Any questions of the testifier or the author? I'm seeing no hands popping up. Representative Hansen, if you want to quickly wrap up, and then we will take the vote.
Thank you, Chair Nelson, Commander Wiki, and the Pavlak family for their service. I'd ask for your support in moving this to the General Register. I think it's an important way that we can recognize the sacrifice of Officer Pavlak. Thank you for, I would encourage you to co-author. There's plenty of space on the co-author list, and I'd invite you to co-author as this moves forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
With that, members, I will renew my motion that House File, get the number right here, 3394, be referred to the General Register. Mr. Brinks, will you take the roll?
Thank you. Chair Nelson.
Aye.
Nelson votes aye. Vice Chair Carlson.
Aye.
Carlson votes aye. Representative Nash.
Aye.
Nash votes aye. Representative Bonner.
Aye.
Bonner votes aye. Representative Jaskowski.
Aye.
Jaskowski votes aye. Representative Elkins.
Elkins, aye.
Elkins votes aye. Representative Greenman.
Aye.
Greenman votes aye. Representative Cleaborn.
Cleaborn, aye.
Cleaborn votes aye. Representative Kosnick.
No.
Kosnick votes nay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Cosmic, aye.
Kosnick votes aye. Representative Mason.
Mason, aye.
Mason votes aye. Representative New Brindley.
Aye.
New Brindley votes aye. Representative Pulowski.
Pulowski, aye.
Pulowski votes aye. Representative Quam. Representative Quam. Chair, with a vote of 12 ayes and 1 abstained, the motion prevails.
I would say Quam's excused instead of abstained. The motion approved. The bill's on its way to the General Register. The next bill we have is House File 4069, also a Hansen bill. And House File 4069, I will move. And we're going to lay this one over, I believe is what we decided for right now. There's some issues of where it needs to go. And when we figure that out, we will move it at a later date. Representative Hansen, I'll move House File 4069 to have it before us. And if you want to explain your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. This is a bill relating to the legislative auditor. Senator Cran is the chief author in the Senate. And this was an account for data security that was set up several years ago, but because of a veto, the money was not appropriated. And you'll see that there's a lot of strike through in this bill. I have with me Ms. Layson from the legislative auditor to give some perspective on the bill.
Welcome to the committee, Ms. Layson. If you want to identify yourself for the tape and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Lori Layson. I am the Deputy Legislative Auditor for the Financial Audit Division at the Office of the Legislative Auditor. And I want to thank you today, Mr. Chair and members, for allowing me to testify today, and for Representative Hansen for introducing this bill. The state data security account was established in 2014, and the revenue was directed to the Office of the Legislative Auditor. However, the governor did veto the appropriation language. And as a result, no one has had the authority to access this account since it was established. And so the balance currently is at approximately 1.3 million and continues increasing at approximately $225,000 a year. By appropriating this revenue to our office, it's going to allow us to use these funds to increase the number of positions in our office and also allow us to add additional audits throughout the year. Our primary focus on adding additional positions will be with individuals who have background in auditing, financial statements and financial audits, IT audits, and also with fraud investigations. Thank you again for hearing this. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
We'll hold their questions till after our next testifier. I have on my list a Mark Havman. Could you introduce yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, I'm Mark Haveman, Executive Director of the Minnesota Center for Fiscal Excellence. I appreciate the opportunity to testify this morning in support of House File 4069. I'll be very brief, as I know you have a very full agenda, but our interest in this bill stems from the news reports on how the office is being inundated with requests for audits, evaluations, and special reviews, stressing its capacity. And it prompted us to take a look at how the budget and staffing of the OLA has evolved over time. And what we found was actually quite startling to us. Since 2003, total state spending per year from all government operating funds has increased 147% by over $33 billion. Over that same time, OLA's staffing levels have decreased from 80 to its current 56 full-time equivalent employees. So you put those figures together, it translates into one auditor or one program evaluator or one special review professional for every $1 billion the state spends annually. As state government continues to increase in scope and scale and complexity, it is imperative to invest in the high-quality, trusted government oversight and evaluation infrastructure that the OLA provides. We strongly encourage your support of this bill and hope this modest effort foreshadows additional investments which citizens deserve and good government demands. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Haveman. With that, members, any questions? Representative Bonner.
We have a little bit better definition around the original intent of these funds and specifically what types of activities were intended to be, these funds were intended to be used for? Because I have found that in the description that we've had, that seems to be quite lacking.
Representative Hansen.
I would defer to Ms. Layson.
Ms. Layson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in the original bill, it did have specific language that stated that we would review and audit driver records, subscription services, and bulk data practices of the Department of Public Safety, including identifying any deficiencies and making recommendations to the commissioner.
Representative Bonner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Ms. Leeson, and can you explain from an IT perspective what additional cyber or security measures they were hoping to gain from those activities?
Ms. Layson, you have to understand we have a few IT people on this committee that have a depth of knowledge in IT. So Ms. Layson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Unfortunately, I don't know exactly. I'm not sure the intent of the exact language in the bill in the past, but I do know that we did do an audit in 2020 of bulk data sales, and that was really just about the privacy of that information. So unfortunately, I do not have the history of the intent of that language. I apologize.
Representative Bonner.
Thank you, Ms. Layson. I will say, I understand the intent here is to make sure that the auditor can access the funds, which was in the original language. I do notice that a great deal of the oversight is now been stricken in that process. And the other part that I find a little bit troubling about this bill is that I don't have a clear definition of what the intent of this fund was supposed to accomplish. And that seems quite lacking. And I find it a little bit troubling that we do not know what the original intent of these funds is, but we're going to authorize a department to use funds that were specifically set aside without clear definition on the intent of what those funds were to be used for. That is all I have for today, but I just want to let the members know that I have concerns.
Representative Nash.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could we have a definition or explanation of what the veto did to these funds and why that made it unusable?
Ms. Layson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, the language, so it still allowed us to do these audits. However, it was the funding itself that was, the language was vetoed. So we just didn't have access to that money. So it's been in this special revenue account accruing at, as I said before, approximately $225,000 a year. But there's been no one who has had access to this account. So as a result, it's now approximately 1.3 million. Thank you.
Representative Nash.
Nothing further.
Representative Brindley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an odd situation we have here. So the money has continued to accrue, but there is no access to the account. And actually, Representative Bonner, I appreciate your questions. I think that they were sound. My question is, well, I guess, have these audits continued to happen without the funding, or have these just not been audits that have been selected?
Ms. Layson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, in 2020, we did do an audit of the bulk data sales, and we still do have the discretion of doing audits at the Department of Public Safety. However, we do have to balance that with audits of other state entities. So if we were to go to the Department of Public Safety, and that was something that was required of us more often, with funding to do so would give us that opportunity to go there more often. But currently, as it sits, again, we just simply do not have enough auditors to spread throughout the state and do audits as often as maybe the legislature would like us to do so.
Representative Brindley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Layson. I guess my question for Representative Hansen, just to make sure I understand, is this account still accruing money?
Representative Hansen, I think he said that already, but yes, Representative Hansen.
Mr. Chair and Representative Brindley, my understanding is yes. And so without the legislation, it will accrue, but will not be appropriated. So that's why the bill is here. And you know, as Ms. Layson said, if we, you know, the auditor and the audit commission have the discretion to do audits, but there's only so much money and only so many staff. And so here you have money accruing, but is not being used. Nonpartisan staff may have the legislative history or could provide that to the committee. But
that's okay.
Representative Brindley, do you want to have Mr. Gehring, see if he has any history on this?
Well, I guess just to ensure that, yes, it is still indeed accruing, I guess that would be a good question to have answered. That would be good to know.
Mr.
Welcome to the committee, Mr. Gehring. And please state your name again and proceed.
Mr. Chair and members, Matt Gehring from House Research. Yeah, my understanding is the same as what's been described here already, that the money continues to accrue in the account. And because there is not an appropriation of the balance of the account, then it just remains in that account and is not able to be used. And Ms. Roberts is also on if you have more fiscal questions about that.
That's great.
Representative Brindley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Gehring. I appreciate that. That was helpful. So my question is then, are there other special revenue accounts that help fund the OLA, or is this a unique situation?
I think I'll ask Ms. Roberts if you maybe have information on that.
Mr. Chair and members, I believe that
the remainder of the OLA's funding is all from the general fund appropriation from the state government finance bill. I can double check on that to see if there are any other sources, but certainly the majority of their funding, if not all of it, comes from the general fund.
And you want to identify yourself for the record?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Helen Roberts from the House Fiscal Staff.
Thank you, Helen. Representative New Brindley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Roberts. I appreciate that. I guess then my question is, I mean, this has been, it was created in 2014, and it sounds like there's a little over $1 million that has accrued since 2014. So frankly, in legislative terms, in state budget terms, it has not been accruing a large amount of money quickly. And so I guess for me, it is odd that we would even continue. It seems more appropriate to me that we would repeal the special revenue fund, send that money back to the general fund and kind of be done with it. We fund the OLA through the general fund. I certainly am very supportive of the OLA and making sure they have the resources we need, but this feels a little like a backdoor approach at this stage of the game. And so I guess my preference would be if the OLA needs additional funding, that we bring that back through the normal process and continue to fund that through the general fund. But I guess I'm a little concerned about how we are choosing to deal with this special revenue fund now. And it seems like a repealer may be a more appropriate course of action. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Representative Hansen.
And Representative Brindley and members, that's why we're laying this over. There's some question. Originally, we're going to send it to Ways and Means, but this money goes into it comes from the DPS, and we don't have authority over the DPS. So this might have to go to transportation. And when we get that worked out, we'll figure that out. They would be the ones if they wanted to eliminate this fund, because it comes out of the public. It requires the Department of Public Safety to allocate 30% of fees charged on bulk sale of vehicle data. And again, that's under the purview of the Transportation Committee. So we're going to lay this over, and when we find out where it needs to go, we'll send it there. Representative Bonner, you have your hand up again.
Thank you. And perhaps Mr. Gehring can speak to this. I'm curious if we have a better understanding of the driver that was behind creating this specialty account. It seems like a clear attempt to sort of self-sustain certain activities, but the question from the language in statute talks about the data requirements and so forth, but it really doesn't give a clear understanding of what the intent was here again, and what was the driver behind creating this mechanism in the first place. And maybe, Mr. Gehring, you have some background information that might be helpful.
Mr. Gehring.
Mr. Chair, Representative Bonner, I have a bit of history I can share, probably not the depth that you might be looking for, but there is an existing, so in 2014, there were issues with how bulk vehicle records were being sold and how the subscription process works. And that has been an issue that the legislature has been interested in for a number of years. And in that year, there was a requirement put in statute that subscribers to these data sales programs are required to conduct audits periodically to review that the data is being sold and received is properly authorized by law and other issues like that. And so this account and the sort of direction to the legislative auditor to do the audits comes out of that requirement that these subscribers contract for an audit to be conducted. And that's if you look at the stricken language in the bill, that's the cross-reference that you see that's being stricken is to that requirement that there be a periodic audit of the bulk sales of these data. So that's how it kind of connects. There's more than just this specific account at issue. It's a kind of bigger question about the way the Department of Public Safety sells bulk vehicle registration data.
Representative Bonner.
Thank you. And Mr. Gehring, is the intent here to also look at how that data is being used, and specifically how private personal information may be used that comes from this data?
Mr. Chair,
Gehring.
Mr. Chair, Representative Bonner, that is one of the issues that the legislature has been interested in is there are certain authorized uses of these data when they get sold. And so part of the questions that have come up periodically is whether in fact they're being used for those purposes. And so I think the answer to your question is yes.
I guess
Representative Bonner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One thing I would suggest is that, you know, there are very distinct and clear guidelines about how we use personal data in any capacity. And I'm not sure if we have clear definition on how we're using this data in statute, and perhaps we could follow up with me afterwards. But so I'm a little bit unclear as to the intent here again. But I also am a little bit nervous about the idea of if we have very specific need and we are taking out all of the language here that gives direction, that we're basically saying we're just going to give all that money back to the OLA. Not that the OLA is not deserving to have that money, but it feels like we are going about this in a very, very odd way. And if there is a real need for this type of information or to do this type of audit, it makes me wonder how we should be appropriately funding that and whether this is the right mechanism to do that. So in an odd situation, I think that Representative New and I may have a little bit more in common than we differ in that. But I think it feels like there is more information that should be sussed out on this particular bill before we proceed. And I know the intent is to lay this over, so I'll leave it there.
And members, with that, we'll lay this bill over, and hopefully, but when we come back, when we figure out where it's got to go, and then some of these issues, again, with the DPS can be sussed out. If it has to go to transportation, it's probably the appropriate place for that. So we'll lay this bill over. Thank you, Representative Hansen. And I don't think you thought this was going to be that controversial. Members, the next bill on our agenda is House File 3696, Representative Schultz. And Representative Schultz, I understand the bill DE hasn't got to us yet. The DE that was put on in another committee didn't get engrossed and sent to us. So we're basically going to have an informational hearing on this bill so that we can see what part of it is we are a part of it. My understanding, it touches a little bit of CGIP funding, and that's why it's in front of us. So Representative Schultz, if you want to present your bill.
Thank you, Chair Nelson. House File 3696 is a bill to help us better understand what we pay for healthcare in Minnesota. And I know Ms. Rudolph did send out the DE amendment that was adopted on March 2nd in the Health Finance and Policy Committee. So all of you should have that in your inboxes. And it just removes some language. It does not change the section of the bill that's relevant for this committee. And the relevance was, does this bill impose a cost on CGIP? And the fiscal note came back that it does not. It's a zero cost. So I'll just describe a little bit about the bill. Basically, it increases the amount of information we're collecting in the APCD, which is the All Payer Claims Database. Currently, we're just getting claims that are paid. And right now, the healthcare industry is moving towards other types of payments that are sometimes called value-based payments. So we're requiring in this bill that all types of payments to healthcare providers are collected in the APCD. And this bill was developed with the input of a very broad primary care coalition that includes family physicians, advanced practice, registered nurses, the Office of Rural Health and Primary Care, and many of our healthcare systems. Over the last decade or more, there's been a real emphasis on reforming how we pay for healthcare services, really moving away from the fee-for-service, volume-based payments towards these outcomes, population health metrics. And regardless of where you are politically, I think most agree that we need to reward value and improve population health with the correct incentives. Currently, most payers are incorporating value payments into their reimbursement systems, but we really don't have a good idea of how that is being done or how much of that is being done. Most value-based payments are not included in a claim. They are extra payments based on meeting certain quality matrix, based on reducing hospital readmissions, for instance, or healthcare home payments that coordinate care. Most of these payments are not included in insurance claim, so they're not being collected by the all-payer claims database. This bill changes that to authorize the collection on non-claims-based payments, including value-based payments. The Commissioner of Health is directed to consult with payers and providers to develop the best way to collect this data, and the reporting will begin in 2024. In the interim, this bill directs the Commissioner of Health to provide a report by February 15th, 2023, on the total payments made that are non-claims-based payments and the percentage of those payments that are for primary care services. The primary care payments will be combined with the report they did in 2021 that looked at primary care services paid through by claims. And I do have one testifier, Dr. Deb Dittberner. She's the president of the Minnesota Academy of Family Physicians.
Welcome to the meeting, Ms. Dittberner, or Dr. Dittberner. If you want to identify yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Chair Nelson and committee members, my name is Dr. Deb Dittberner. I'm a family physician and chief medical officer practicing in Alexandria, Minnesota at Alamere Health, one of the few remaining county hospitals, county-owned hospitals left in Minnesota. I am also the current president of the Minnesota Academy of Family Physicians. The MAFP is the largest physician specialty organization in Minnesota with more than 3,100 family physicians, residents, and medical students from across our state. I have been a member and deeply involved with the MAFP since I was a medical student at the University of Minnesota. Today, I'm here to testify in strong support of HF 3696. This bill is needed to update all payer claims database, known as the APCD, to ensure that it collects a complete picture on how healthcare is paid in Minnesota. Currently, it only collects payments that are claims-based. That represents the transactional care that we do in medicine, the fee-for-service. It is missing a large and rapidly growing portion of payments, non-claims-based payments. These include value-based payments, infrastructure costs, complex care coordination, and other patient support services. Increasingly, these non-claims-based payments affect the way that I, as a physician and others in my practice, provide care for patients, and these are not found on the claim. They support opportunities to creatively engage with patients outside the face-to-face office visit model or that fee-for-service model. We can improve measurable clinical outcomes like blood sugar levels in patients with diabetes or depression levels in those with mental health by developing an outreach system via care coordinators, social workers, pharmacists, behavioral health professionals, and community health workers by using the whole primary care team. Value-based payments support primary care providers to care for patients with increasing complexity, patients with multiple complex chronic diseases and or multiple social determinants of health. Minnesota's APCD was created in 2008. It has been an invaluable tool to use to analyze variations in healthcare costs and quality. However, more and more peers are using value-based payments, risk-based payments, and partial capitation. As CMO of a health system, I realize the rapidly growing rate of these payments from our peers right in Alexandria. This bill authorizes the Department of Health to begin collecting non-claims-based payments information in 2024. But in the interim, the bill directs the department to develop a report by February 2023 on the percentage of total payments that are non-claims-based and the percentage of those payments that are for primary care services. The triple aim, and now commonly called the quadruple aim, is my North Star as I care for patients and as I lead in healthcare. Decrease the costs, improve the quality, improve the patient experience, and guard the resiliency of all the healthcare workers. The newer payment models I've described help achieve the quadruple aim, especially when spent on complex and continuous primary care through teamwork. Data from the Primary Care Collaborative and the Milbank Foundation show that investing more in advanced and continuous primary care achieves the quadruple aim. Yet, according to recent MDH study, only about 6% of health spending goes to primary care in Minnesota. We need a more complete picture of healthcare spending in our state to truly understand the needs and gaps. Without this additional data, how do we, all of us here, develop and set a vision for healthcare systems that work for Minnesotans and is aligned with the quadruple aim? The pandemic has helped shine a light on the value and need for primary care, preventative services, and mental health care. And it has continued to show us that the fee-for-service payment system supporting volume over value does not work. And perhaps most obvious, the pandemic has highlighted healthcare disparities and inequities that affect too many of the residents of Minnesota. HF 3696 is critical to know how healthcare is currently paid for in Minnesota and to help inform us on next steps to make the healthcare payment system work best for our state and the Minnesotans we all serve. Thank you for your support of HF 3696, and I am happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Doctor. And we also have Stefan Gildemeister here from the MDH to answer any questions. And I see I have Representative Elkins. We have your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not so quite questions, but I just additional almost testimony. I'm a co-author on this bill, and I have been following this topic very closely. It's clear that Minnesota health insurers are increasingly moving to these value-based incentives, and this is a very positive development. It is resulting, as Dr. Dittberner mentioned, in greater emphasis on preventative services, so that people don't get sick in the first place, or that their acute conditions don't spin out of control. The purpose of this bill is really more for us more than anyone else. It's to provide us with the information that we need as policymakers to follow what's going on in this development, so that we can craft intelligent legislation to promote it going forward. Health Partners is one of the insurers that has a value-based payment system like this, and these are incentive payments over and above what a provider would receive in addition to their claims-based payments, and they're very open as an example of how their program works, what the incentives are. I've read their description. It makes a ton of sense. This is something that we need to encourage, but in order to help promote this trend ourselves, we need the information about how this is working in the all-payer claims database. Is the place where we assemble the data so that analysts like Mr. Gildemeister are able to give us the policy recommendations that we need.
Thank you, Representative Elkins. Representative New Brindley, you have a question.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is actually for you, Mr. Chair. While I certainly appreciate that you are treating this as an informational hearing at this point, will you be bringing this back up later for questions once we've had time to actually review the language? I'm afraid that these 5 minutes are not really sufficient time to review the language and be prepared to intelligently ask questions on the bill.
Representative Brindley, yes, when this comes back up, we'll have some questions. I have a question right now for Ms. Roberts. Ms. Roberts, Representative Schultz said that according to the fiscal note, that this does not affect any budget that we oversee. And I guess if you can explain the fiscal notes, I see there's a preliminary, or there's two notes for this. So Ms. Roberts, can you explain the fiscal notes, and does it have an impact on our budget?
Mr. Chair, again, Helen Roberts from the House Fiscal Staff. Any impact from this change would be reflected in the State Employee Insurance Fund, or CGIP. So, and as the fiscal note notes, at this point, there's not enough information to determine that there would be a fiscal impact. It would not impact any general fund budget that this committee is responsible for. It would, if there are any additional costs, even they would be spread across the entire CGIP fund and wouldn't require additional state appropriations.
So, Ms. Roberts, would we need to hear the full bill again? Or can we just have it sent elsewhere where it needs to be heard? Ms. Roberts.
Mr. Chair, that's certainly your decision, but since you've had an informational hearing about the bill, I think it would be up to the members.
And Representative Schultz, you're lifting your hand.
Yeah,
was it referred to us? Was it referred to us from the last committee?
It was referred because we didn't know whether there could potentially be a CGIP cost. So we just received that fiscal note. So if we had that fiscal note earlier, I don't think we needed to come to this committee. So my advice to members is to move this to, I think it's going to judiciary because it has this data issue, and not hear it again because it does not impact your budget jurisdiction.
If it comes to us and we finally get possession, we either get rid of it or move it two ways. One is by motion on the floor, but otherwise we have to hear it and vote it out of here. Representative Brindley, I see your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. And I just want to clarify with Ms. Roberts. It sounds like we're not saying that there is no cost to CGIP, as Representative Schultz indicated. You said that we don't have enough information. Did I hear that correctly?
Ms. Roberts.
Mr. Chair and Representative Brindley, I'm sorry, I'm working off my iPad, so I can't really pull the fiscal note up at the same time. But as I recall, there was some discussion about not knowing exactly what the reporting requirements would be, but that it did not appear that there would be any impact to CGIP. And that if it was, it would be a minor impact that would be spread across agencies.
Representative Brindley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do think that that's important for us to know in this committee if there will be an impact in CGIP, because certainly while that might not affect the general fund, certainly that would affect payers throughout the system. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Schultz, you put your hand up. Do you want to answer?
Yes, Chair Nelson, I will just read the quote from the fiscal note. It says, quote, CGIP does not anticipate additional administrative fees from its health plan administrators to provide this new value-based reporting to MDH. But CGIP anticipates no fiscal impact. That's what the quote says from this bill.
We will watch it when it finally gets to us. Representative Elkins, you had a...
Yeah, just a follow-up. So my guess is that the reason that there is no fiscal impact on CGIP is that CGIP probably isn't doing this, but CGIP probably should be doing this. And so if, by passing this bill and obtaining the information about, how to the degree to which the payers that are doing this are benefiting, both in terms of cost and improved patient outcomes, it would give us the information that we would need in order to direct CGIP to do something like this in order to improve patient outcomes and reduce costs.
Thank you, Representative Elkins. Representative Nash, your hand is up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I will just say, I think that holding this in the possession of the committee until we have a full understanding of the fiscal ramifications is probably the most prudent thing, even if the author doesn't want it to be that way and others would like it to be expediently moved out of committee based on not complete information. I think that's a really poor decision. And I think that holding it in committee, Mr. Chair, is exactly the right decision. Thank you.
And Representative Nash, it's scary, but I think you and I are sharing the same thought, and that may scare a lot of people. Representative Drazkowski.
May I respond to that, Chair Nelson?
Representative Schultz, you want to respond?
Thank you.
Quickly.
So, Representative Nash, they will not have the information to produce a fiscal note. They're predicting that there will be no cost to CGIP. If there is a cost, it'll be by their health plan administrators, where and they don't believe they're going to pass on. They'll be very small fee potentially that would be spread across premiums. And so we can't wait for additional information because it's never going to come. So there's not going to be a time where we're going to get a fuller picture in a different fiscal note.
Representative Schultz, that's when we get the bill, hopefully we'll have more information, and maybe by that time, or we can have more definition of that. Representative Derskowski, and then we're going to lay this over, and because we don't have it in our possession, so we can't vote it out. Representative Derskowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wonder if Ms. Roberts would enlighten us on the CGIP fund. It seems to me that if there is a cost to CGIP, that will accrue to a cost to departments throughout government that have to pay the government share into that. Is that how that works, Ms. Roberts?
Ms. Roberts.
Mr. Chair and members, yes, you're correct that the CGIP fund is funded through both employer and employee premiums to pay for insurance claims. I would again point you to the fiscal note that I think one of the issues here, as Representative Schultz said, is that at this point, the implementation of this bill and the reporting requirements are far enough in the future that the CGIP administration doesn't know what that impact would be, but that they anticipate that it would not be major, and then would not have it would be, as I said, spread across all agencies, so wouldn't have a significant impact to any particular agency. But your underlying description of how it works is correct.
Representative Derskowski.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess just the point I wanted to make is that it would have a general fund impact. It might not be reflected in our fiscal note process, but it certainly would affect the general fund if indeed there is an impact to CGIP. But thank you, Mr. Chair.
And Representative Derskowski, it might be such a thing as that it's, as happens at times, it's something that the agencies will absorb. With that, members, I think we've spent enough time on this. It'll be coming back up to us when we have to vote it out of committee. So I'm going to lay this over. Thank you, Representative Schultz, for your time. And I apologize that the mechanisms of the government and the getting it engrossed and getting to us, it didn't happen in a timely fashion. With that, members, the next bill we had was Representative Zhang's bill. And Representative Zhang is presenting two other bills in other committees. And members, that's something that happens this time of year and actually all through the session, that members have multiple bills up on the same time. So members, I'm going to suggest that we take a 10-minute break here. And just so you know, my understanding is the recording continues while we're on break. So I know sometimes when we're in person on break, they shut the tape down and stuff gets set offline that shouldn't be heard in the public. So just for members, I've got 9:38 here now. Why don't we come back at 10 minutes to 10 and on our 9:50, and so the 12-minute break. And Representative Quam, you got a question?
I was just suggesting we could do the Nash bill since the author's present.
Well, there's another bill, but yes, we got two other bills, but I think it's appropriate time for a break, and the chair might need to use a facilities. So it might be time for everyone to be able to take a break and do that. We'll come back at 10 minutes to 10. So members, we are on recess.